Today we're making traditional Jiaozi, or what some people call Gyoza. And this is a kind of fried dumpling or pot sticker that's from Chinese cooking. Often a part of what's called dim sum, and that's a traditional kind of brunch menu. Dim sum actually means from the heart, so it's meant to be a very touching family experience. There's many kinds of filling for jiaozi, some vegetarian, some with meat, some mixtures of meat. The one I'm going to be making is pork and shrimp jiaozi. There are basically three parts to making jiaozi. One is to actually get the filling put together and mixed together almost into a paste. The second part will be to make a dipping sauce. The third part is actually putting them into what are called parcels, or little folded up shapes, with basically a pre-made, or you can make yourself wrapper. The pre-made wrappers are typically made with wheat, which is unfortunate, but much easier. Making your own wrappers using often tapioca starch, rice flour, things like that can be done, but it's never quite the same thing. So to look at the filling for the jiaozi, I'm going to take about a pound of ground pork, preferably lean and organic. And this is one of the rare occasions where I would actually choose to use a food processor, because I want everything broken up really small. You don't want to have anything, like especially with the vegetables, sticking out, breaking through the wrapper. So I've got about a pound of pork, about a cup of shrimp. They go together quite well. And before I actually take all the spices that I have prepared, what I'm going to be doing is just taking a little bit to make the sauce. So this has to do with what is called making a flavor profile, or making sure that the flavor in the jiaozi dumpling and the flavor in the sauce are kind of similar, but at the same time have different directions. You know, there's going to be a rich, earthy, kind of fatty, chewy part to the dumpling, and then there needs to be similar flavors, but a sharper, more pungent, and probably more spicy notes to the actual dipping sauce, and that the sauce really makes quite a difference. So I'm going to take about half a teaspoon of ginger, about maybe a level teaspoon more or less of garlic, a little bit of green onions, and preferably just from the tops, because it turns into a sort of almost a garnish on top of the sauce. About a teaspoon, give or take, of that. Because there's jalapenos in this recipe, I'm going to take a small amount of jalapenos, about a half a teaspoon of them, and a good rounded teaspoon of cilantro, freshly cut. And again, that's going to go in with all of the elements of the sauce, which we'll see in just a minute. So the rest of my spices are going to go into the mixer here. So again, I have my green onions or shallots, or scallions, pardon me. And then my fresh, yummy, organic ginger, always a good thing. I usually start with about 6 cloves of really healthy garlic. Again, some goes into the sauce. And all of this is going to be cooked together at a fairly high heat at once. So you can imagine that the flavors of these spices are going to be very fresh, very kind of sharp, very quickly infused into the fat. This is the jalapeno peppers that are diced up. And again, some freshly chopped up cilantro. Adds a nice sort of side note to the flavor. And this is a mixture of toasted sesame oil, fish sauce, and a bit of tamari. This is a 1/4 cup measuring cup. And I've got about equal amounts of each of them. And this allows the processor to basically mix everything together a bit easier. And also, again, allows that flavor profile that's going to be in the dip be in the jiaozi, so that they blend together well. Also have some mung bean sprouts, say about a half cup to 3/4 of a cup, and I've pre-chopped them a bit just because I want them to be as small as possible. Again, any big pieces can poke through the wrapping and actually cause a bit of trouble. Some fresh organic, nicely diced and sliced cabbage, and again, using the food processor to make sure it's very well chopped up. And we'll just turn that into a paste and then take a look at the next step. Okay, so now that we have our filling into more or less a kind of paste, what we're going to want to do is start putting them into the wrappers. Now, step one with the wrappers is to just put your finger in some warm water and just quickly brush the outside edge all the way around. So I'm going to take that wrapper, go around the outside edge with some lukewarm water. Not too much, but just enough to make it sticky. Grab a rounded teaspoon of our filling. Fold the wrapper over in half. And seal up the edges. Sometimes a little of the sauce will come out, and that's not going to get in your way. And you're going to, again, just very lightly wet the edge. And then you go through a very easy process of putting a fold in it, squeeze it, put a fold next to that, squeeze it. And you just keep folding and squeezing until you get to the other side of the dumpling. Oh, a little slippery spot. Good to notice that that can happen. And there you have what's called Jiaozi. Now, the word actually Jiaozi has to do with the shape of very old Chinese money. And the idea was that if you make things that are in the form of money, you're going to have more money. So once you've made your dumpling, you're just going to basically take it and sit it on a previously floured plate, because you don't want them to stick to the plate. And once your plate is full, then you're going to cook it in the pan, and we'll see that in a minute. When you're making Jiaozi, it's a bit precise. You need at least a quarter cup of oil, or sorry, pardon me, about a quarter inch, maybe an eighth of an inch, somewhere in there of oil, in a pretty hot pan. Now I'm using the coconut olive toasted sesame oil, and then you just want to start quickly as you can putting these in there. You'll notice some of them are made a little differently. My son likes to make them round, I like to make them long. It's all full of yummy food, so it doesn't really matter. And the quicker you get them all in, the more evenly everything's going to cook. You shake them a bit, obviously you're going to get that extra little corner here and there. You want to basically fill the pan. For just one more, because we have just one more. I'm going to roll the oil around, make sure everything gets very well covered. And then you're going to put on a lid. And this is one of the times when you really want to have basically a kitchen timer. And it's about 6.5 minutes, 7 minutes to cook the whole thing through. And then we're going to take a look at it in about 6.5 minutes.